Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Glove.
And I'm Kyle.
We're the fucking Morning Throners.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of your Morning Throners podcast. We're here to talk about Jon, and I believe this is Jon 1. No, correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
first one.
That is
And
correct.
The guy that everybody loves and the one person that Nelson hates, which we'll find out as we read along.
I don't know about hate, but he's definitely one of the most overrated characters.
He's not overrated. He is perfectly rated.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Perfectly rated.
We'll get to it later.
Glow loves some Jon.
No problem. I have no issues with Jon yet. It's when he gets a stick up his butt later on.
He always has a stick up his butt.
Jumping straight
Not
on
here.
in.
He's the life of the
glad
party
he
in
was a
this
bastard.
episode.
Jumping straight on in. Kyle, do you know the setting of this chapter?
I mean, it's in the hall, right?
Yeah.
Great hall.
Do you know the tone of this chapter?
B minor.
Do you know the theme of this chapter? I
don't-
thought we were just naming literary devices.
I was just saying that. I don't know
If you had to name this chapter, this is an English.
Are you ready for
like
this?
a little English project. If you had to name this chapter, what would you name it?
Jon 1.
John 1. Yeah. No, John's a bastard. That's what I was going to name
That's
it.
not
Bastard
bad.
at the ball.
That's not bad.
That's what I would name it.
You've got one key word to what it would be, and I think Nels is definitely on the same page as me. Glow probably is too.
The imp and the bastard.
Nah, that's not what I was going with.
The bastard at the ball.
Gimwood's
No.
Belwas.
What are you thinking, Jeff?
Let me get the line for sure so I don't fuck it up. Oh, maybe it's not
You act-
yet.
He had this whole big thing planned.
No, it's not.
Ooh!
It's a Tyrion line. It deals with.
All bastard are dwarves, or all dwarves are bastards.
I was thinking of the list that he breaks off, and I don't want to be a spoiler if it's
You're
coming
gonna be.
later.
Because I don't think that was in this one.
Yeah, I don't remember him.
So how was I going to name
When
the
he
chapter?
goes bastards, no, it's definitely later on.
Nah, it's lit.
Do you know what I'm saying though?
Yeah, now I do.
No.
Okay,
no,
but
I don't.
it could be
Bastards are
the
all
chapter.
cripples in their father's eyes.
No, Glow, you're not picking up. But it could be the
Thank God,
chapter.
because Loda just.
We'll
said-
bring it up in
Yeah.
we'll bring it up in the spoiler section. All right, let's
yeah,
roll
we'll talk
on.
about it
Yeah,
later.
you should.
Sorry,
Once
Kyle.
Kyle's gone. All right, so Kyle, back to question 1. What's the setting of this chapter?
The Great Hall of Winterfell.
Yes.
Yeah. Big, well, it's not, I guess, that big, because Joffrey is like, fuck this place.
Yeah, it says Joffrey's looking around with like, oh, this place isn't
And
that great.
Ned doesn't ride in a 2-story house, so
Yeah.
like
It's not that chill.
yeah, yeah. This fucking dump.
So, and in the Great Hall, Jon is not with the rest of his family. Well, so when the chapter starts, the rest of his family's not even there yet. But Jon is sitting in the back of the Great Hall before the rest of his family comes in. He's sitting with like a bunch of other squires and like just younger guys, people his own age.
Slamming beers.
It's summer
Because-
wine.
Yeah,
Get
he's
it right.
drinking wine.
Whatever, same thing.
That's the thing. These guys, I don't like it. They don't drink beer. It's too much wine. I'm not a wine guy.
Well, let's just
You
think
should give
about
it
the
a
difference
shot.
between
They
wine
don't
and
have
beer.
beer. They have mead.
How much does beer take longer to ferment?
Kyle,
Or
you're
like-
the guy who knows about
No,
this.
wine usually takes longer.
Wine's longer.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of wine is like aged.
Yeah, but wine just like throw some grapes in a barrel. Beer's like science.
No, you need.
I mean, beer's pretty
don't
old
you
too.
need like sugar and stuff in?
Yeah, there's still
in
sugar
wine?
and yeast in wine. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like, but it.
But they
And
say
some of
they
that
have
naturally
ale,
occurs, I'm
so
sure.
ale's beer.
Yeah, correct.
So
Do they have ale? I don't
not
know.
at this. I don't know if they're drinking it in the north, but they say all the time like, "Oh, give me some ale or give me some mead."
Well, mead is different.
Yeah, mead is
mead
different.
is hot.
So I'm just saying, like, it's not like they're just
Cider? I
drinking
don't
wine.
know.
They like have different.
Mead's chunky beer.
No,
Mead's good.
mead is honey wine. It's honey
Ew,
wine.
Nicola,
We
what
have some mead made with our own honey actually right now.
Oh,
I
really?
tried some tonight. Yeah.
Kyle,
So what
fermented
is
honey.
what
Kyle's
does
bees
honey
mead.
replace? What does honey replace?
the
in normal
sugars.
beer?
It's wine. It replaces the sugars. Like I had to
What?
give somebody like almost 2 gallons of honey to make the mead.
To make. Oh
Yeah.
wow, that's crazy.
Karch made mead before and I had it. It was really good. Got me fucked
It's interesting. It's really strong. Yeah, it's usually like 14 or some percent. So
That's
it's
nothing.
All right, going
I'm
on.
drinking Niners over here.
John's back in the back
this is an
getting
8.
drunk.
Yeah, it's like so the place like this hall is like like stone walls, really smoky inside. Like I guess like the ventilation they don't really have figured out. I mean, I guess I never really thought about it when you're burning a bunch of fires and candles without air ducts. I guess it just like gets like horrible.
Oh hell
inside.
yeah! And everybody's probably chiefing, big fat
Eh,
stoves.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
if they are.
everybody's smoking pipes or something. Yeah, I don't know if we get much
I
smoking
never.
pipes in.
The
Game of
most I
Thrones.
got was the dipping with those red leaves.
Yeah, a lot of people dip with red leaves. Chew some sour leaf.
Eating cigarettes.
Not back in the day. I was just eating raw tobacco. Yeah, but it's smoky, and there's a singer playing on his harp, and then everybody starts to come in. We got Robert. I think is probably hands in hands with Kat. I just have a list of all the names. I don't have who they're with. I think it's Robert. Probably hands in hand with a Cat. Cersei with Ned.
I thought they came. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Like in pairs, right?
Yeah.
And this is when we
from
talked
a
about it
different
last
family.
episode. This is when we talked about it last
Load?
last episode, where John's thinking like Robert doesn't look like a king. This isn't what a king should look like. And
Yeah.
then when he sees Jaime Lannister, who's the Queen's twin brother,
No,
he's like,
and
"This is what a
that's-
king should look like."
That's a knight right
Yeah,
there.
John talking about it. Yeah.
He gets a full-on hard-on, and then right
Yeah.
after that, he talks about Tyrion.
Yeah, he said he's way more interested in the two Lannister brothers than like anybody else. He thinks Rob's being stupid because Marcella's kind of giving him like googly eyes.
Oh yeah, he
An
calls
8-year-old.
Marcella stupid,
Yeah.
Grow
She's
up,
like, yeah,
Rob.
she's
Insipid or
stupid.
something, right?
insipid. I was like, what the
Yeah.
fuck's that mean? I had to look it up.
That's a Game of Thrones
Yeah, I
word.
was gonna say yeah. That's a Game of Thrones word.
He made it up
Is
for
that a
himself.
Game of Thrones word?
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime you don't know what something means, it's probably because he made it up.
But also, Rob, you're like a 14-year-old. That's a young ass girl.
She's not 8. She's older than that.
It said 8.
Oh, really?
Hold
That's
on.
fucking gross.
Hold on.
It's quoted.
Yeah, she's 8.
Oh.
Act like you read the
is he
fucking
trying to
chapter,
bang
bro.
her? You
No,
just
Rob,
read it.
Rob wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
He's
that's what I thought,
He's
yeah.
like acting really proud because he's like the
Because he's
first in
fucking
line,
Rob, yeah.
oldest brother. Yeah, he's with
Nah.
the kids and everything.
Rob wants
Yeah.
to bang her.
You think he's smashing? You
No,
think
it's,
so?
and it says Rob because John even thinks that Rob is stupid for like not noticing that she's being
Yeah.
all googly eyes at him.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah,
she's
okay.
stupid.
I took it the other way, but
Yeah. So, we get that all the Lannisters, Cersei, Joffrey, so all of Cersei's kids and Jaime and even Tyrion all have blonde, like super blonde hair. Tyrion has really weird eyes. He has one green and one grayish black eye.
Is it grayish black or brown? Yeah, I knew it was dark.
I think
One
it
black
just,
one. It
one
just says
black
one
eye.
black
Yeah, one green, one
Yeah.
black.
A
Almost
smushed
white
face.
hair.
Yeah.
head's too big for his body.
Yeah, just super ugly.
He's wobbling. He can't walk.
Again, Nelson. I'm drawing all this.
What?
Every
He's like
character is
4.
you.
He's
man.
not. This guy's not even 5 feet tall.
It's not just that though. Like I mean, it's
Just the
it's-
ugliness,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He's
I got you.
described your face to a T.
If I had different colored
Like
eyes.
I mean, yeah,
And Tyrion was cross-eyed.
and your giant unibrow, shelf of a unibrow.
Well, that's they
Sticks
don't
way
say
out.
Shelf of a unibrow.
I
Yeah,
don't
it's-
think they mean brow. I think they mean
I
like
know.
forehead.
Yeah, I know.
Like
Well, no,
eight-
his eyebrow bones stick
Yeah.
out. Yeah,
Like caveman-y.
yeah, yeah.
So they all go up to the friggin' top seat. Let's quit insulting me.
No,
And John says he's glad that he doesn't have to be up there. So why isn't John up there?
because he's a
Kyle?
bastard.
Fucking bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And he doesn't want to. The king would. It's kind of casts a bad
Yeah.
shadow on him.
bad
He sits with
yeah.
a bat. Yeah, exactly. An
And- but
image.
he
there
said
you go.
he's proud about it because, or not proud, but he's
He's
happy,
happy
about it
because he can
Because
get
he
back
gets a
there and
drink.
get drunk.
he can get
Yeah.
fucked up. Yeah.
Ned was only going
Smash
to give
some
all the other
someone.
kids one
So
cup
the
of
one
wine.
thing he brings up being happy too many times, I think he's actually really jealous, guys.
Yeah, he is.
He's
There's a part where
so
he
he's
says
so
something.
fake
He's
happy
coming
that
up-
he's depressed.
Yeah, he's coming up with excuses to be happy that he's not there, but he really wants to be there.
Well, that's why he's smashing wine, right?
Yeah.
And that's
'cause
why
I
we're
think he's
smashing
upset.
beers.
But yeah,
Yeah.
when he thinks about being lucky that he can have Ghost with him, because like the other ones can't, he says like, yeah, he was telling himself he was happy about Ghost too. And there's a part where it says like he tells himself he's lucky to not be up there, but you can kind of tell he's getting that vibe. So the last people to come in after Jaime and Tyrion are Benjen and Theon. Theon we talked about last time, and Benjen, who is his uncle, and comes back and we get a little more about him later.
He's pretty important on the wall, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's from the Wall. That's basically all we know right
But
now.
Yeah, he
Well,
is.
no, I
He
thought
is
during this
important on
it
the wall.
sounded
He's
like he
like
was
the.
important. Yeah. Well, he's Ned's brother, right?
Yeah,
What,
but
what do they
I
call him?
don't-
The
that-
first ranger.
Yeah, that's all we'll go. That's all we'll say about that.
No, that's cool. I mean, it sounds
Yeah.
like I said, it sounds like he's important. And that sounds like an important title. That's
Yeah,
I think that fits. I'm not worried
we'll
about it.
talk about him more. Like I have his picture of him. I don't want to
Alright.
click on the link yet till I get there, else I won't be able to get back easy. So John's talking about how he's lucky that Ghost is there, and he feeds Ghost half a chicken with his knife, and Ghost is what he's named as Wolf. And then it says a dog 3 times bigger than Ghost comes up to try and get some of the chicken, and like is snapping and growling at Wolf or at Ghost, and Ghost kind of just like bares its teeth at him, and the other dog like leaves and like doesn't want anything to do with it.
He called it a bitch like 8 times, so you
Well,
should have
it's just
called
like-
it.
just
You
means
Fucking
it's a girl
bitch.
dog.
I
Get
know,
outta
but
here,
it
I don't even
sounded-
know if I have
That's
that.
like it's kind of a derogatory way to talk about a girl dog too, though. Like
Is
he's
it?
like, "Fuck this other dog." Yeah.
I
He's
thought like in medieval times it was just like a descriptor.
I think I agree with Nelson on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Overruled.
I agree. Double overruled. 3/4
Well,
vote.
why
You're a
would
bitch.
why would George Martin invent that word if it didn't have some connotation?
True.
Either way,
Female dog. You gotta write that. You gotta write 2 words instead of just saying bitch.
Yeah, I
it's
guess
a
so.
lot quicker, just shorthand.
He's saving money.
I know, but he said it like 5 times. Black mongrel bitch. The bitch growled. The bitch snapped. The
Well, that's how
bitch
you
tensed.
describe it.
The female dog. The female dog.
Just
The
because you
female dog.
use it a lot doesn't mean it's derogatory. I call you Kyle all the time doesn't mean Kyle's derogatory.
All right, moving on. Too much bullshit.
Fucking
So
bitch.
this is when all right, we're back. So this is when Benjen comes and sits with John, and we find out that he's the youngest brother. So Ned's youngest brother, the only one younger than Ned out of the 3: Brandon, Ned, Benjen. And it says he's sharp-featured and gaunt, but he always has a hint of laughter in his blue-gray eyes. So that's the description we get from John. And he comes and he sits down and he starts talking about Ghost. He sits down and he remarks how silent Ghost is, and John says he's not like the other wolves. He never makes a sound. That's why he names him Ghost, and because he's white. And then Ben just starts talking about how that they have wolves north of the wall.
I'm calling John out on a big lie right now.
What?
He had named him Ghost well before he figured out that he didn't make noise.
Think so?
How many fucking days are you gonna give him without a name to find out that he's completely silent?
He
I
could've
mean,
been a real quiet pup.
Bran also doesn't have his dog named yet, so
Hey,
Brand is
spoilers.
also like
That's
a
2 spoilers for
7-year-old.
Glow.
Again, that's another spoiler from Glow. Not a huge one, but
No, I'm just kidding. That's not.
It-
What do you
the thing
spoil?
is, we need to hound him because he needs to get it through his head before that happens with something more
No,
important.
That was
yeah.
not
That's
important. That wasn't even a spoiler. I was just giving him a hard
Spoiler.
time.
But
Because
back to
I
what
thought
I'm
the
saying.
same thing
Like,
in my head. I just had self-control.
yeah, but bullshit, John.
yeah. But I also gotta
I'm
talk
just
shit to
calling
Jeff.
bullshit.
I
That's
gotta
all I'm saying.
defend shit.
I'm calling bullshit on John. You named him Ghost because he was white and you're a simpleton, not because he's quiet or silent. Because it's just
Well, he says that he notices he was silent because the other wolves seem to make a lot of noise. He says like he's not like the other wolves. He never makes a sound. So
Ah.
maybe like
That
if
could've
all the
been
other
fast.
wolves are like crying and shit, and wolves just like or
I'm
Ghost
calling
just, like,
bullshit.
chilling.
But
I'm not calling bullshit.
I don't think either way. It doesn't really matter.
stop sucking, John.
Yelling at me for getting into minutia.
All right,
Jeff, this is gonna be me and you later.
So they both point out that Ned isn't in a good mood, and the quote Benjen has the quote, "My brother does not seem very festive tonight." John had noticed that too. A bastard had to learn to notice things, to read the truth that people hid behind their eyes. His father was observing all the courtesies, but there was tightness in him that John had seldom seen before. He said little, looking out over the hall with hooded eyes, seeing nothing. 2 seats away, the king had been drinking heavily all night. His broad face was flushed behind his great black beard. He made many toasts, laughed loudly at every jest, and attacked each dish like a starving man. But besides him, the queen seemed as cold as an ice sculpture. The queen is angry too, John told his uncle in a low, quiet voice. Father took the king down to the crypts this afternoon. The queen didn't want him to go. Benjamin gave John a careful measuring look. You don't miss much, do you, John? So this is pretty. And there's a point earlier when I think when Ned and Cersei were walking in that said like John could see through Cersei's smile. He's like pretty observant for a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah,
And I
he's
think
like
they said
really
that-
observant.
I
Bran
think
says
Bran
it.
says that.
Yeah,
Isn't that
Bran.
like
first.
middle aged back then though? Like I mean, he's like a middle aged man at that point at 14.
I mean,
He's not even
But-
vaccinated, dude. I'm surprised he lived this long.
well, John he tries to make that argument because they're about to get into him going to the wall, and he's like, "I'm a man grown," and Benjen doesn't think that he's old enough to serve at the wall. I don't know.
Benjamin's a cocksucker.
And John says bastards grow up quicker, which maybe is part of the reason. Like when
Well,
you're a
yeah,
kid, and
I
you're
mean, you
getting
think
babied
about
all the time.
just think about how like all of his step half brothers and sisters getting babied with everything and the finest whatnot. Like you can kind of get a little bit of a taste where we don't know too much about it, but they're not letting him up at the high table, so it's not like it's all
Well, yeah,
you know,
no, he's
bread
trying to get
and,
away.
butter and gravy or whatever the saying would be.
Yeah.
Like he's got a rougher life, so he's probably got to fend for himself a little bit here and there and whatnot. But
Well, and I think he's trying to make a name for himself because he's obviously not going to do it here as well.
yeah,
Yeah, and then so this gets into him and this. They basically have this argument, John and Benjen, and Benjen's like, take me with you, because Benjen notices he's observant and says like, we need people like that, and John jumps at him, he's like, oh, then let me go.
Mhm.
He says bastards grow up fast, and I'm almost 15 already. And he points out that this is just a random name drop. Daemon Targaryen was only 14 when he took Dorne. Benjamin points out that Darren almost lost 100,000 men. He lost like 90,000, and that he died 4 years later.
Or did you forget that?
Yeah, he says that. That's what he says to John. He's like, "Or did you forget that too?"
Yeah.
And John says, "I forget." He says, "I forget nothing." Right? Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I forget nothing.
He's just a grudge holder.
Yeah. So John gets real pissed
He's
off.
a bastard, dude.
And he says he wants to serve, and he said he's thought about it a lot, and a bastard, because like he says basically what Kyle said earlier, there's no future for him here. And the quote that Benjen says, "You don't know what you're asking, John. The Night's Watch is a sworn brotherhood. We have no families. None of us will ever father sons. Our wife is duty. Our mistress is honor." "A bastard can have honor too," John said. "I'm ready to swear your oath." "You are a boy of 14, Benjen said. "Not a man. Not yet. Until you have known a woman, you cannot understand what you would be giving up." "I don't care about that," John said hotly. "You might, if you knew what it meant," Benjen said. "If you knew what the oath would cost you, you might be less eager to pay the price, son." John felt anger rise inside him. "I'm not your son." Benjen Stark stood up. "More's the pity." He put a hand on John's shoulder. "Come back to me after you fathered a few bastards of your own, and we'll see how you feel." John trembled. "I will never father a bastard," he said carefully. "Never!" He spat the word out like venom. So then he gets pissed, tries to run out, but he's had a little bit too much to drink,
Yeah.
and just like crashes into some lady and knocks wine out of her hand. And he's like starting to cry as he goes, and he just runs outside.
Do you think Benjen is reluctant or like he feels reluctant that he's at the wall? Like he reluctantly
like
went
he
to the
regrets
wall?
it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's just kind of speaking truth. Like, you're 14. Like, you
Yeah,
don't know
I don't-
shit yet.
wanna
Right, but
take-
he wouldn't say that if he didn't feel that way.
I don't want to take from
Yeah,
your
but we don't
discussion,
know
but I
why.
didn't-
We don't know
get
why
that.
Benjamin's at the wall.
Yeah.
Right, I'm not saying we know why. I'm not
Is that what
saying
you were? Hold on. Is that
I'm-
what you were gonna say, Kyle?
No, I'm just saying I didn't get that from this. It just sounded like he was trying to protect this kid
Yeah. I
that
think,
he knew his brother cared deeply about, and like he's like, no, man, there's no way I can take you there.
yeah,
That's
that's
out
what
of
I got from it too.
my
I don't-
realm.
I,
I'm just your uncle. I can't.
Yeah.
I feel like if he wouldn't mince words if he meant that. Like, he's like, "I wish I never did this," or whatever. Right?
That might be
Right,
something
but-
for you to touch on it later. I guess is kind of what I'm saying. I don't want to. That sounds like a good
Yeah.
discussion to have, but
Yeah. We could say that for later. I mean, I don't think there's much to spoil there, but
Yeah, I wasn't bringing it up as like a fake spoiler. I like.
Yep.
What do you think he's feeling right there? I think. I mean, we can't pick up tones in a book, but
yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can.
that's a literary device I joked about earlier.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I mean, if
Full
we're
circle.
if we're arguing or debating over his tone, I mean, it wasn't like it was a clear cut thing where
Well, yeah.
it
I
was
mean, it's like a 3-sentence thing, right?
Benjamin said reluctantly, you wouldn't, or
Yeah, exactly.
regretfully, yeah.
It's never that
that's
clear
what I
cut
meant.
in these books.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, so he comes outside, and what happens next?
Tyrion shows up.
How's he show up?
He's above the door doing weird shit.
And
Boy.
he does like a
Boy.
front flip onto his
Yeah.
hands, and then like a handspring onto his feet.
Super nimble.
Yeah, so Tyrion jumps down, does like a front flip onto like a handspring to get off the roof.
Just like incredibly athletic.
And he's like real interested in Ghost. He asks to pet him, and Ghost like snarls and first Ghost
Does
is
he
like kind of
snarl
scared.
or
Well,
shows
hang
teeth?
on, hang on.
No, he shows
Yeah.
his teeth. Come on, dog.
Yeah, because he's quiet. But
Yeah.
no, first, like, so, Benjen, he didn't do that,
What?
for the record. Benjen
What?
pets him under the table, and the dog didn't care.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That is a good point.
But here, Ghost backs off because it says like when Tyrion does the flip and like lands on his hands.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
springs
he's
back.
definitely, and he's a little person as well, so it,
Yeah,
like,
but
that's probably strange for the dog, right?
I don't. I guess Ghost probably has never seen him before, but I don't know.
I mean, it's just,
How?
like, everything is new that's happening to him, I guess is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I guess. And we don't know how old he is, but if there's
Yeah.
like a normal dog inside that's 3 times bigger, and this is a wolf, he's probably still pretty young.
True.
So he comes down. John tells him to sit and says like he's really well trained. He won't hurt you now, and like you can come pet him. And then I think basically the rest of like the last couple paragraphs here, somebody should just read. Jeff, do you have your book open? Let's get you to read one.
I am Tyrion Lannister. I know, John said. He rose. Standing, he was taller than the dwarf. It made him feel strange. You're Ned Stark's bastard, aren't you? John felt a coldness pass right through him. He pressed his lips together and said nothing. Did I offend you? Lannister said. Sorry. Dwarves don't have to be tactful. Generations of capering fools and motley have won me the right to dress badly and say any damn thing that comes into my head, he grinned. You are the bastard, though. Lord Eddard Stark is my father, John admitted stiffly. Lannister studied his face. Yes, he said, I can see it. You have more of the North in you than your brothers. Half-brothers, John corrected. He was pleased by the dwarf's comment, but he tried not to let it show. Let me give you some counsel, bastard, Lannister said. Never forget what you are, for surely the war will not. Make it your strength. Then it can never be your weakness. Armor yourself in it, and it will never be used to hurt you. John was in no mood for anyone's counsel. What do you know about being a bastard? All dwarfs are bastards in their father's eyes. You are your mother's true-born son of Lannister. Am I? The dwarf replied, sardonic. Do tell my lord father. My mother died birthing me, and he's never been sure. I don't even know who my mother was, John said. Some woman, no doubt. Most of them are. He favored John with a rueful grin. Remember this, boy. All dwarfs may be bastards, yet not all bastards need be dwarfs. And with that he turned and sauntered back into the feast, whistling a tune. When he opened the door, the light from within threw his shadow clear across the yard, and for just a moment Tyrion Lannister stood as tall as a king.
First off, I'm gonna say these early chapters have like really good endings. Like not like that, like story wise they're good, but just like I don't know. I like the
They make
last
you
paragraph.
they make you
Yeah.
think
They
about
wrap up.
it's definitely
Like
a
the
good
last
wrap
sentence
up.
was good. Cause I know in like book 4 and 5, I like read a thing and be like, is this like a page skip for nowhere? Like it just seems like weird cutoffs. in some
Book
of the
4 and
chapters later on.
5. Ugh.
They have,
That's all
like,
I have to
definite
say.
endings to each scene, kind of thing.
Yeah.
The scene ends. Yeah.
Like the last one, I think in the Ned one that we just recorded was like winter's coming. It's like when
Yeah.
Robert walks off and he thinks that winter's coming.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, first glimpse of Tyrion Lannister. Kyle, what do you think?
I mean, he seems pretty crazy. I don't know what like I guess he's a smart dude, but he's
So,
wacky, right?
I guess first off, I'm asking like I might have touched it last episode. What, like going into this, what do you like know about Tyrion Lannister besides Peter Dinklage?
Well, he's a smart dude and he's wacky. That's what I know.
Well, there you go. So now you got that from this chapter 2. It's confirmed.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I guess there's nothing really to make predictions on from this chapter. One thing I want to point out is there was definitely another point in there where it shows that John was kind of jealous of not being up in front when he says you have more of the North than you than your brothers, and John says half brothers, like correcting him. It's like,
Yeah.
But it
Yeah,
also
he-
says
But
right
he was
after
also
that.
happy about
he's happy
saying
that-
that he was like from the north.
Yeah, he has more North than him. All right, I don't have anything else for that chapter. I just wanted to get that because I love Tyrion, and I think it's a good introduction. Anything else from you guys?
Oh yeah,
Before we go spoiler section.
Tyrion seems like a smart dude. And,
Yeah, I've got one more. Just imagine for a second, and let's talk a little bit about if bastards were still looked at as bastards in today's world. Wouldn't that be wild with how
They're
many...
not.
No, not at all.
I think it's a lot more easy.
I
to
don't think
conceal
you're doing
right?
it right. No. Yeah.
probably
a lot more
yeah.
easy.
Could you
conceal it,
imagine
right?
if you're just like in elementary school and like that kid's a bastard and he has
Jeff
to, like,
is a bastard. Jeff is a bastard.
I'm not a bastard, but if he had like
I
sit in
don't
the
know.
back, say he had to like sit in the back of the room, or he had the, I mean,
it'd be just be like any other type of discrimination, right? Like I
Yeah,
think when
but
I
it
think of like
was-
bastards, I think if they had like school, like if they had our society with this bastard mentality, it would be like when it was like the segregation thing, where it'd be like different bathrooms. Like okay,
Yeah.
bastards use that bathroom in school, and just shit like that. It'd be horrible.
right?
But just like any other
No,
type of
they're
discrimination,
not
right?
treating him like that though. Like I mean, he's getting treated
mean,
already. It's just
or
his
like-
family's kind of like, don't
Bastards-
associate him
But
directly
that's
with
Bastards
that.
that's
weren't-
like, but he's also like highborn, right? Like Ned, like a lord is his
he's-
father.
Yeah, he's got some pimp shit going on.
Yeah,
That's
all
what
the
I'm saying,
low
so-
family or all the lower people, bastards don't really matter. There's bastards running all over the place.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was one thing I was curious about. Not really anything
It's-
about the chapter, but
Well, don't you guys remember when Nelson was justifying slavery a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, some of the
Wasn't
slaves enjoy it.
justifying- I wasn't justifying slavery.
These slaves had a good
Didn't
life.
Didn't
cheap
Sean-
labor.
didn't
It's
Sean
cheap
back me up
labor,
on
he said. Yeah, Sean's an awful person as well.
He wasn't
Like, are you
justifying
kidding me?
slavery either. He said he understood what I was saying because he's read the books. When you read the books, you'll know.
No, you're like it's pretty good. Like it's good
It's
for
not a
him.
bad gig
Yeah,
being a
yeah.
slave.
It's not a bad gig, you know? Nah.
and on that note, I think it's time to say goodbye to Kyle.
All right, Kyle. I'll let you
Bye-bye
go.
now.
All right, later,
See you,
dudes.
Kyle.
Thanks
Enjoy.
for joining us. Moving on to the spoilers.
Peace.
Peace.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
And we just said goodbye to Kyle again, as we just did the John chapter. How are we feeling right now, guys? Excited?
Going into the spoiler section, always hyped for that.
Not much. I think we said it last time. I don't know if we said it on air, but the last two chapters kind of go hand in hand with the spoilers, I guess, right?
Yeah, like a lot of them are just crossover. We're gonna talk about the Mance thing really quick. Not as related to Rhaegar this time. But is Mance the guy at this?
Man, I'm so
thing.
pissed off because I didn't pick up on it at all. And when I read through, and he was like, I don't even know if I picked up on it when Mance said to John, like, oh no, I was at that feast. I'm like, what the fuck's he talking about? And you're like, hey, what's he do? He sings a lot, and there's this fucking singer, but they don't say anything about it. So it's kind of hard to tell. Like, is that something
Yeah,
that
we would get one line.
is that something George pulled out of his ass later, just like to like throw another cog in the wheel?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was a later decision that George just threw in.
Yeah, I mean you could, but he must have just reread this again. I'll read the one line that talks about the singer. It's when John's describing how smoky it is in the hall. He says, "A singer was playing the high harp and reciting a ballad, but down at this end of the hall, his voice could scarcely be heard above the roar of the fire."
One thing we
So-
know is whoever's in Mance Raider's tent is playing a high harp a bunch. So,
Well, Mance Raider.
well, yeah, we said the whole Ruby bullshit. I don't want to go back into details about that game.
Oh, Rhaegar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
gotcha.
for this, we're gonna leave the is Rhaegar
Wait,
Mance
didn't
Raider
it-
part out.
Did
but-
we talk about last time that Rhaegar sang well too?
Yeah.
Yes.
So-
Okay.
Yeah, we
I
touched
must,
on it.
like I said, the whole Ruby thing gave me a headache, so I might have bounced that out of my mind.
Yeah,
But-
so I mean the things that we know about again, one time I said we're not going to do the Rhaegar thing, but I'll say it. Rhaegar is known for liking to sing and play the high. I think high harp is like his instrument, and that's
Huh.
what we get mentioned here. I think that's what the people who like this theory, like this one line, point to it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think again, does it really matter that Mance was here? Could George have retconned it in smoothly? Yeah, because the singer is not mentioned, doesn't seem to have any effect on anything at this point. It's just cool that Mance can point things out later that he, and again, this could always be a fact like Mance basically just tells John a bunch of information that he wouldn't have known unless he was here.
Right.
But say Mance is in cahoots with Three-Eyed Raven, Three-Eyed Raven's warging ghost. There you go. You have eyes in the Winterfell Great Hall. You know what I mean? Like there's so many. Not so many, but to John, this he's obviously telling the truth. That's the only way John can think of that he would get this information. But conceivably, the situation I just said, if he's in cahoots with Three-Eyed Raven or somebody with a glass candle or something like that,
You
there's
love all
potentially
that glass candle.
I love all that shit,
You
dude. And
love it. And I couldn't be on the further side of the fence than that.
Well, just think about it. Like he tells John, like, I climbed the 700-foot wall, dressed up as a bard, walked right into Winterfell, even though I'm the king of the North, and just played some music.
He could have said all that, and like you said, like there's a fucking door in the back that I don't know.
Like, yeah, he just knows. Like, there's like somebody told him, like,
he
yeah,
could have just walked in with the huge fucking crowd that came from King's Landing too.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure when we get there, that the way he describes this Great Hall is like pretty spot on and kind of in detail. So it's like, if somebody did tell
How do
him
we know he
this-
wasn't there before in the past?
That's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I was.
Well, I
just
think he
thinking.
describes
He could have went
people.
there.
I think he describes people. Like the Queen was doing this, blah blah blah.
John
you were at
was-
the back of the hall.
John was drunk.
No, not John. Mance.
No, I'm saying John has no recollection of this night the next
Yeah, he
day.
does.
Bullshit.
He's not fucking blacked out.
My man is a 14-year-old slamming wine. He did not wake up with any memory of the night before. Let's
It doesn't
be real.
matter what John remembers. We get an accurate representation of what's happening here, and if this matches what Mance says later, and whenever Mance says it,
Okay.
with Book 5, then Mance knows something he shouldn't know, whether that
Well,
means
yeah,
he was
but-
here or not.
Okay.
But
I
it's
gotcha.
not like
I understand.
I thought the point you were making is Mance could just say like, "Oh, there was a feast in your great hall, and the king
No.
was there, and the queen was there." Like, just point out super obvious stuff that would obviously be true.
No, I'm
later.
saying like even if he like said some like random details, John would have to be like, "Oh wait, was that there?" Like I was pretty fucking hammered when that happened.
Oh,
That's
I see
what I
you're
was saying.
He's not hammered the whole time, dude. He definitely remembers some of this shit.
Okay, let's just talk about when we get hammered. The first thing you say when you black out is, "Man, I don't remember a thing last night." You remember like little fucking bits and pieces. It's not until and
No,
it's
you
not.
remember before
it
you
is
blacked
not
out. You remember
until-
how
bullshit.
you blacked out.
Nope, bullshit. It is not
You don't
until
remember-
people start feeding you little details that it sparks that memory in your mind. So that could be exactly what he's doing.
Yeah,
Nah.
that's true.
I disagree.
thank
But
you.
then again, the only way
Coming from a
Mance-
guy who's blacked out, I remember stuff before I blacked out.
You're the only person in America that's blacked out. Just
Here's
black
my
out.
point, though. Even for Mance
And
to
Canada and Indonesia, wherever our listeners.
even if Mance is pulling that, right? He would have to know that John was drunk enough, right? Like Mance can't think that if I just say this random stuff, John will believe it because he was drunk. He would have to at least know John was drunk.
I mean, shoot or shoot, man. I don't know.
Shoot or shoot.
I guess I feel like you have a lot more to lose than you have to win there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to go back to that actual moment when we get there.
Yeah.
Pull out the book.
I don't even
we'll
know
get there
what
later.
that
We'll get
says.
there later. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's Feast or Dragon. Glow, you said you want to say something about Ghost in the spoiler section?
Oh yeah, we were talking about it a little bit with Kyle there, and how
Benji pets
Ghost.
him right away.
Yeah, Ghost is nice to Benjen, but scared of Tyrion. I think it's because they're, they have a connection already. They have the same feelings almost. So like when he's around Benjen, he's comfortable. John's comfortable. That means Ghost would be comfortable with him. And then when Tyrion springs out of nowhere, John's kind of scared of him. So of course, what's it called? It's gonna be scared of Ghost.
Gotcha. Yeah, because
Little
I
warg
didn't pick up.
action.
I didn't pick up on that at all.
I was
Like
thinking
Kyle
more
did.
of like just like the Stark blood line.
'Cause I
And
was-
that too. That's definitely a part of it too.
Yeah, the Stark bloodline, and I was always thinking like, I like the fact that he reacts the same way John does. That makes sense in this situation. But there's situations where the wolves react in ways that the children don't, because it's almost like they know things the children don't.
Yes.
What you just described makes sense. That John is apprehensive of Tyrion, so Ghost will be. John isn't of Benjen, so Ghost isn't.
Yeah.
But like,
And John
Grey
also
Wind-
knows when Ghost is hungry.
that's true. But Grey Wind is like going crazy over the phrase before the Red Wedding, and Robb, while like kind of nervous, doesn't like suspect. Isn't like nearly as on edge as Grey Wind. So that's like one of the situations that's kind of opposite, where he doesn't just act the way the child acts all the time. And we get the whole fact that Ghost is silent here, which Kyle didn't. I guess it's probably been a little while since we recorded Bran, but Kyle did not piece together that the way John finds Ghost is Ghost making a noise, and
Yeah.
now all of a sudden he's silent.
Yeah. But
that was something.
it
that
also was it. What was the noise said again? It could have been like a broken branch or something, right? With
No,
Ghost.
John just said he heard something.
Yeah,
and
like it doesn't make it sound like it was a bark or like a animal cry. It could have been like leaves rustling around or some bullshit like that.
I think it was a war connection opening.
Right, I'm just giving like an excuse for the noise, like not that.
Here's the quote.
Yeah,
Halfway
but Ghost
across-
doesn't even make noise. Like walking around, he doesn't make noise.
Yeah, like, and even I never really like
I mean, come on.
thought about it
Let's
too
do
strong.
Physics.
Even in this situation, think about it. You have a wolf that's like a dog, two dogs. One's a third the size of the other one. One comes up, tries to get the other one's food. Is like biting, snapping, growling at the other one, and one of them just bares its teeth in a silent way. I've never seen a dog do that. Normally, a dog will be like when it does that. Ghost just like shows its teeth, and this other dog backs off. Literally no noise. Both times. Same thing with Tyrion. And then when John finds it, the quote is, "Halfway across the bridge, John pulled up suddenly. 'What is it, John?' his lord father asked. 'Can't you hear it?' Bran could hear the wind in the trees, the clatter of the hooves on the ironwood planks, the whimpering of his hungry pup, but John was listening to something else. 'There,' John said. He swung his horse round and galloped back across the bridge. They watched him dismount where the direwolf lay dead in the snow, watched him kneel. A moment later, he was riding back to them smiling." John hears it twice. That's not like a snap branch. He's like, "Don't you hear it?" And then once everybody shuts up, he's like, "It's there," and he goes to it. I'm 100% either behind John hid this wolf, or probably more likely Ward connection. And that's
Ward
why its eyes are open.
connection.
Yeah, that's why its eyes are open. The other thing that we kind of touched on, and Kyle even said we could talk about, kind of told us to talk about it in the post section, Benjen. We don't know why Benjen's at the wall. This is something that in interviews, George R. R. Martin has promised we will get an answer for eventually.
Yeah,
It's got to be important.
it's got to be. Yeah, I
can
mean,
you
hopefully
think
it
of?
is.
What can you think of that is a reason for him to go to the wall?
He fucked Lyanna.
He fucked Lyanna. We talked about that last episode. Again, that's not a theory that any of us like really get behind, but it's a theory that's out there. So we'll talk about it when evidence comes up. That would make sense.
Crackpot theory. So Rhaegar is Mance Raider. Mance. Lyanna knew he was going to go north of the wall, and got Ned and Benjen involved, and said Benjen needs to go up there to be friends with like Mance and help him out a little bit.
And they're both just 100% on board because it's their sister. I mean, I guess that's why Ned, like, the main theory right now, right, is that John is Rhaegar Lyanna's kid, and Ned is protecting him for Lyanna. So I guess it's not that much further of a stretch to think that if Ned's on board for this huge risk, then Benjen would be too. Right?
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I think
That's
I think
a
it's
super
likely.
crackpot. I literally just came up with it like when we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah. Another thing that I want to point out about Benjen, he has gray blue eyes. All the Starks are always said to have gray eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know, just kind of weird.
Yeah,
Gray
but
I did when you
Some
said
of the
that earlier, I thought
Targaryens
about
had like, didn't they have like different shades of purple?
Lilac,
yeah,
And-
and like
violet.
some of them even didn't have
I
purple
mean,
eyes.
and the only way
John's got black, gray eyes.
I think we talked about this. I forget when. It might have been during Dunk and Egg. If you have gray eyes, your eyes have to be like the palest of blue. You know what I mean? Like it's not actual gray. It's
no, that's
yeah, but people
that's,
don't
they
have
call that
purple
pale.
eyes either, dude.
Yeah, they call that pale eyes.
It's a different fucking
Like
world.
they say, Ramsay and Roose have pale eyes, which is like just really light. I think there's actually it's actually a condition.
I guess you're right.
It's a different world.
Look, yeah. Well, so that's the only thing I was saying. Like, really, 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 like ice blue eyes would be the closest thing you could probably get to gray.
Regardless of what the specifics are, Benjamin's at the wall because of Liana. The thing is, it doesn't make sense because at first,
That's just a crackpot theory. I really don't know why.
yeah,
I can't.
the reason I'm against that is because I think when in the next cat chapter, which I think is the next chapter for us to read, when they bring up, I think this is her in the bedroom with Ned, right? When Mr. Lewin comes in and says like, "Oh, John's been thinking about going to the wall." At first, Ned's not about it, and that theory that you just said, Glow, kind of hinges on, okay, Benjamin, you go to the wall now, get yourself a good standing. I'm going to send you John in a few years and you have to raise him, which to me makes it think like Ned would jump at the choice or even be urging John to go to the wall instead of kind of hesitant for it at first. I think he went for
very interesting, Nels, but
I think he went because he dishonored himself. Something happened. He dishonored himself. He went to the wall.
do you think there's any chance that he just went just to try and
I don't
be
think-
honorable?
At first, I tried to try and think like, oh, maybe he just went because he's the third son of the Starks, and the Starks give children to the Watch because that's what they do. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't think I'm behind that anymore.
Yeah, I think you're right. He dishonored himself somehow.
Right? There's no way that he just goes to the wall because he's the third son. Right? Do you agree with that?
Yes.
All right.
Especially after Brandon died.
Yeah. Especially and we don't know when he went to the wall, right? I think he.
Well,
must
no, he
be
was
alive.
young during
Well, he had to have been alive when Benjen died because
Brandon. Yeah.
Brandon, because there's always a Stark in Winterfell, and we know that when Brandon dies, Ned's at the Eyrie, right? I'm pretty sure we know that, or at least during that war, Ned is down in the war. Brandon and his dad are dead, so there needs to be a Stark in Winterfell. It's got to be Benjen. He had to be like the Lord of Winterfell, kind of like Bran is when Rob's gone. He had to do that for when Ned was gone.
Yes.
So I think the last thing I said before I clicked out was like, you were saying that you hope that there might be like a shot that he has an honorable discharge to the wall, I guess.
So what we said, Jeff just we lost connection to Jeff for a few seconds there, but while he was gone, just to recap, Jeff, we basically Glow and I just said he had to have been at Winterfell during Robert's rebellion because both Ned's brother Brandon and Ned's father are dead, and Ned is at war, and there always has to be a Stark in Winterfell.
Right.
So that has to be Benjen. So Benjen's at Winterfell during that war. So it's sometime after Jon and Rob's birth that he goes to the wall.
So could Catelyn would be at Winterfell at this point, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or at least
She's probably
the first thing I
Winterfell.
said. I mean, she married.
Yeah,
Did
she
she
would have to.
marry
Like,
Ned
she probably comes back to Winterfell when Ned gets back to Winterfell, which is when Benjen would be permitted to leave to make it so that the whole Stark and Winterfell.
I thought they got married before the war.
They did get married, but that
they
doesn't
did
mean
get
she
married
can't go
before
back
the
to the
war.
Riverlands during the war.
But there's no way he had time to go back north before the war started after the marriage.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe
Again, those
there's a
timelines
shot.
I don't think matter.
Yeah.
I think he definitely dishonored himself. There's no way he just goes back.
But how would he have dishonored himself? He could do whatever he really wanted. He could fuck anyone he wanted. He could have a
What
bastard.
if he's doing like some Lord Knight to the First Right shit?
He'd have to
while
like
he's the
sell
Lord?
poached slaves like
Jorah.
Jorah or some stupid bullshit. Like
I don't know.
It's
I
not. I don't think it's gonna come down to like fathering.
And he still has honor. It's not like he's dishonored either. He's still seated at the high table during the
Right.
fucking feast, and
True.
I mean, they also might have like kept it really hush hush. But
Well,
because he banged his sister.
Because the fact that George R. R. Martin has like admitted that it's something that he'll reveal later kind of almost proves that it's important. That it's more than just like, oh, he went there for no reason. But who knows? The last thing I have to talk about, and it's not really spoilery, but it's we kind of glossed over with Kyle because I don't want to give him too much of the world. But John says that he's been thinking about going to the wall because he has no place in the North. Is that true though? I kind of hinted at, like, talked about for a second. Highborn bastards aren't that bad off. fucking Bloodraven
Yeah,
is a bastard.
But Catelyn
who
also
becomes Hand of
does
the King.
like put him in his place all the time. Doesn't let him do shit. Doesn't let him like talk to other lords.
So yeah, Cat is
Kinda
no good to him, but like he could be like captain of the guard at Winterfell. He could be like like a steward, like Roger Cassell. He has John has better birth than Roger Cassell just because he's a bastard. And this is something that Dunk brings up in the Dunk and Egg novels that we already went over. There's a difference between baseborn and bastardborn. Baseborn means both your children or both your parents are lowborn. Bastardborn means that, yes, while you were born out of wedlock, you have highborn parents like Bloodraven, Bittersteel, Daemon Blackfire, all those people, right? Like Euron Waters, bastard who becomes master of ships and Dance with Dragons.
Right.
There's plenty of bastards who do all right for themselves.
Yeah.
But John has this preconceived notion that he basically can't do shit because he's a bastard. And I don't know if that. First off, I'm gonna say that's not true.
Maybe it's because Catelyn's giving
And
him
I don't know
shit,
where
too.
Yeah, did Catelyn give him that idea? Or, and again, we'll talk. I'll just kind of tie it into next episode. Next episode, Maester Luwin comes in to talk to Cat and Brant Ed in their bedchambers, and he's the one who brings up to them that John wants to go to the Wall. And I think he even says that Benjen says it's a good idea, or Benjen almost endorses it. We know that's not true. Benjen is anti it right now. Not that he's not for it, but he doesn't want John to join right now. Give it a few more years. But Maester Luwin, next chapter, keep an eye out for it when you read, is definitely endorsing it. Does Maester Luwin have something to do with this?
Yeah. Is it also weird that Benjen told John to father some bastards?
Yeah, kind of weird.
It's kind of weird.
It was kind of weird.
Also, something to note. Maester Luwin has not always been the master at Winterfell. He comes with Catelyn, so he's only been there 15 years. He used to be the maester at Riverrun. A lot of people think that the maesters have their own conspiracy going on, and that the maesters are like kind of not actually for the houses they serve, but for the Citadel, working independent goals. So we'll keep an eye out for that as we move on too. Like maybe Maester Luwin knows something about Jon's parentage and wants just to get rid of him for the Maester's sake, right? A lot of people think Maesters are anti-Targaryen because in the end of Book 4, I think, when we get that one chapter with Marwyn, he says, who do you think really killed the dragons? It wasn't the Targaryens fighting the Targaryens. It was the Maesters making the Targaryens fight the Targaryens, knowing what would happen. And who do you think really caused the rebellion? Do you think it was Robert, or do you think it was Maesters whispering in the ears? Lady Dustin says that the whole marriage alliance idea between Brandon and Catelyn was actually the Maester at Winterfell's at the time, the guy who was before Luwin. That was all his idea. So again, that's a lot. Just like Maesters might all be on the same team. That's another main theory we'll keep an eye out for as we go forward. And the first evidence will be next time with what the conversation that Maester Luwin has with Catelyn and Ed. But that's all I got. Anything else you guys want to bring up from this chapter?
Nah, I'm good.
Tyrion's shadow looks as big as a king. Could foreshadow him becoming a king, or could just be because Jon thinks of him as a king because he spoke to him nicely. So I don't know how to feel about it there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think anything about that.
And then
Other than that, his shadow's big.
And then when he's talking about Jaime earlier, he's like, "That's what a king should look like." And the next sentence deals with Tyrion.
Yeah. I think that's a good call out, Glow. And the other thing is, I just want to point out, it's hard to miss unless you really dissect the Tyrion dialogues, but Tyrion is so freaking smart. And I don't know, like maybe it's unintentional. I think this is 100% intentional. At first, he jumps off the roof and pushes Jon's buttons, right? He calls him bastard. He's like, you're Eddard Stark's bastard. He has to know that that's going to offend a 14-year-old boy. And then he turns it around and gets Jon on his side with one comment saying that he looks like he has more Northen than his brothers. And maybe that's a truthful comment and Tyrion's just saying that because it's true, because it is true. Or I think Tyrion's smart enough to know, okay, this kid's pissed at me. I'm not going to make enemies. Just get him on your side.
This guy's got a wolf at me right now. I should probably be nice to him.
I think he's just really good at influencing people. Like feeling them out, figuring out who they are. Like, he has Jon figured out in 30 seconds here. When he starts calling him a bastard and realizes, like, what Jon's face looks like, and he's like, yes, I'm Ned Stark's son. And, like, all that shit. Like, he knows instantly what kind of guy Jon is, and then he knows exactly what to say to get him to change his mind by telling him he looks more northern than his brothers. again, I love Tyrion. One of my favorite characters. He definitely has his flaws, as we'll see later on. But I just want to point that out.
Yeah,
since we
so
brought
far
up
I think
Tyrion.
Robert and Tyrion are the coolest.
Yeah. Is it? And I just want to check back in. I know it's Jeff's first read through. Glow. Is this your first? This is like you've only read these each once so far.
Yeah, I've read the 5th book twice though.
Okay, that's cool. There's definitely gonna be a lot of stuff you guys are catching for the first time. All right, guys. Well, I think that's all we got. It's late. We recorded a lot tonight. I don't have anything else.
I'm good too. We'll see you guys next
Like
time.
and subscribe us on YouTube, Spotify,
Everything.
Grindr,
Stitcher,
iTunes,
Google Play.
Pornhub.
Pornhub. Oh god. Alright. On that note, good night.
Good night, Westeros.